Having been born in 1954, I was not very old when we achieved majority rule in 1967, but I recall walking down East Street on a given afternoon from Mortimer's Candy Kitchen selling peanuts when my cousin said to me, Sir Lyndon was walking down as well, and he said, he wants to be the next Prime Minister of the Bahamas, pointing at Sir Lyndon. I recall that, and shortly thereafter there was election, and of course, majority rule came into being. I suppose I didn't quite take it in at the time. I didn't know exactly what the implication of it was. But certainly it was a glorious day. The psychological impact was perhaps more poignant than the material impact, where you felt a sense of ownership, a sense of belonging. I think that was very clear. Yeah, I discuss this from time to time, and I have come to believe that the time has come for us to move away from the nomenclature majority rule. I don't think that's very aspirational. It may have worked back in 1967, but I think we should now be looking towards celebrating something like One Bahamas Day as opposed to Majority Rule Day, because we know for a fact that in the Bahamas, a certain segment of the population does not really participate in activities connected to Majority Rule Day. And if we insist on Majority Rule Day, suppose the United States, for example, insisted on majority rule, Barack Obama would never have become president. Majority rule suggests to me that a white Bahamian could never become prime minister. And I don't think that's where the Bahamas wants to go. So I think that we ought to give serious consideration to, in 2026 and beyond, a One Bahamas Day as opposed to a majority rule day, because majority rule suggests that there are some who are part of the ruling class and some who are being ruled. And I don't believe that's the intent. I don't believe that's the practice. So I think that that nomenclature needs to be looked at.
How do we encourage the system to generate much more Bahamian ownership?
Well, there's a certain level of race patrimony that is necessary. That is to say, for example, it's Christmas. Kelly's, for example, is selling toys. R.M. Bailey Park is selling toys, the same toys. But the average black Bahamian, in my view, would rather go to Kelly's because they don't want their neighbors and friends to see them buying from R.M. Bailey Park. We need to disabuse ourselves of those kinds of notions and support grassroots, up-and-coming businesses as opposed to the conglomerates that have been here from time immemorial. So that the only way we can step into economic mainstream and ownership is if we break down some of those barriers. There's no reason why the same family that controlled Mahatma Rice and Carnation Cream in 1967 still controls it in 2025. Sir Roland Simonette helped me to go to college. So I've got to give some credit to him. As Norman Solomon helped me while I was in college. And so personally, I received help from both sides. And that's throughout my life. My best friend in high school was Bruce Pinder, owner of Rocky Farms Nursery. So the race thing has never really hit me in.
That's hard as it is.
Yeah. Well, I think the Bahamas is in a very good place. Obviously, we have our challenges, but I believe that if we keep our eyes on the ball, look at the big picture, and remain united, I think that we're the envy of the region for sure, in many aspects. I think the Bahamas has done well, and its better days are ahead. I think that that the new Commissioner of Police has done well. I think the government has been very progressive in its anti-crime programs, because the fact of the matter is these things are solvable. There is no inherent need to have runaway homicides, runaway criminality. And so I believe that through a consistent policy, we've seen the benefits and the reduction in crime in the Bahamas. And there's a far greater distance to go, but I believe that we're headed in the right direction, whereby the criminal class is realizing that the odds are now not so much in their favor as was the case before. And the key to it, is not the severity of punishment. People keep talking about punishment, bring back the death penalty. The key is the certainty of being caught. That's the key, and that's what's happening. No, I think that that the average black Bahamian has a good reason to feel a sense of pride. I certainly feel it. Now what we need to do is unify the Bahamas so that the color line is more blurred, more oblique than it is, and people come together. We want white people participating in Junkanoo. We want white people participating in the arts. That's what we want aspirationally for the Bahamas, so that they feel as if majority rule involves them as well. And right now, I don't think that that's the case.
When you look at Trinidad, Jamaica, right, you could be black, white, Chinese, but they are Trinidadian, they're Jamaican, you know it. And then they open their mouths. What makes us do?
Well, that's interesting, because if you look at Jamaica, you look at St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a few other Caribbean countries, they've had white prime ministers. It doesn't make a difference. But in the Bahamas, it makes a difference. And so perhaps we don't have a common definition of what is a Bahamian. And that's where we need to go.